Are we good? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Sofer. I'm the United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas. I want to thank you for being here with us today. I want to introduce the other folks who are behind me. We have Stephen S. Whipple, who's the Drug Enforcement Administration Houston Division Special Agent in charge. We have Richard D. Goss, who's the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigations Houston Field Office Special Agent in charge. We have Jennifer Stevenson, Assistant Chief with the Austin Police Department. We have Todd Radford, the Chief of the Lakeway Police Department. We have Commander Brian Wukash of the Cedar Park Police Department. And also up here are Assistant United States Attorneys Mark Marshall and Robert Almonte, who are from my office. I'm going to reach around here. This and a number of the other items that are on this table are poison. Worse yet, many of the pills before you are camouflaged as legitimate and regulated prescription medication. When unsuspecting college kids and other drug users put these pills in their mouth, they are playing Russian roulette. They are gambling that the drug dealers did not place lethal doses of drugs like methamphetamine or fentanyl in these pills. Tragically, many times their gamble goes horribly wrong, and they overdose and sometimes die. If they do survive, they risk becoming addicted to these highly toxic and life-destroying drugs. Just as an example, the long-term effects of meth on a human body and brain are nothing less than horrific. Imagine you're a college student taking what he or she thinks is prescription Adderall or Xanax and instead getting hooked on methamphetamine or fentanyl or some other dangerous opioid. This dangerous business must be stopped. Today we're here to announce the arrest and federal indictment of 13 people, including current and former University of Texas students, for allegedly distributing and selling, among other things, LSD, psilocybin, fentanyl, and methamphetamine pills to University of Texas students and others, both here and in San Antonio. The federal grand jury indictment, unsealed today, charges all 13 of these individuals with conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance. Some of the defendants are also charged with money laundering. These charges are the culmination of Operation Spiderweb, which began in 2019 when federal, state, and local law enforcement officers noticed a disturbing increase in the distribution of counterfeit controlled substances, specifically LSD, Adderall, Xanax, oxycodone, and other pills in the Austin area. Law enforcement learned that thousands of dosage units of these counterfeit pills were being distributed in and around the West Campus area here in Austin, and noticed a corresponding increase in overdose reporting. Make no mistake about it, these are not pills being carefully manufactured and tested by sophisticated pharmaceutical companies. In fact, 2 targets of this investigation overdosed and died during the course of the investigation. Investigators discovered that 23-year-old Varun Prasad of Austin was the leader of a distribution network that sold MDMA, LSD, psilocybin, which is also known as hallucinogenic mushrooms, counterfeit Adderall, counterfeit Xanax, and other drugs on a wholesale and retail basis. The counterfeit Adderall contained methamphetamine. The counterfeit Xanax and oxycodone contained fentanyl and other dangerous opioids. Law enforcement investigators also discovered that Prasad was laundering his drug proceeds with the assistance of a local real estate investor named Benny Danishu. The laundered funds were used to purchase real estate, which in turn was used by the drug trafficking organization for safe houses, stash houses, grow operations, and a hallucinogenic mushroom grow operation that spanned 3 different states. Search warrants were executed yesterday. They resulted in the seizure of hallucinogenic mushrooms, counterfeit Adderall, counterfeit Xanax, LSD, and other drugs. Authorities also seized over $100,000 in cash, which is some of which is in front of you, firearms, and a number of ballistic vests. A sampling of these items are here in front of you today, but they represent a very small fraction of the dangerous drugs that were peddled in our community and a very small fraction of the illegal proceeds from drug trafficking. In fact, investigators estimate that the overall sales of the illegal drugs sold by this organization exceed $1 million. What is particularly disturbing about this case is the fact that what appear to be extremely well-educated and talented people who had many opportunities in life to choose from instead focused their business acumen and education on dealing illegal, dangerous, and counterfeit drugs. And they sold much of this often camouflaged poison to our unsuspecting students and other individuals in our community. Today's indictment demonstrates that they went into the wrong business. Now they face between 10 years to life in federal prison. We are currently prosecuting a related case as well. In that case, investigators discovered that former University of Texas San Antonio professor Rose Rodriguez Rabin supplied Prasad with counterfeit Adderall laced with meth on numerous occasions. Her co-defendant, Brandon Sims, distributed counterfeit Adderall pills to UTSA students and others along with Rabin. These defendants used a consumer app similar to DoorDash to market and sell counterfeit and other illicit drugs. Ignoring the widespread sale and abuse of these substances is not the answer. We need to educate our communities about the dangers inherent in counterfeit drugs. People should know that when you buy a pill and take a pill from someone on the street, you have no idea what you are putting into your body, and you can become addicted to a dangerous drug, or worse, die from an overdose. It's important to remember that the charges described today are allegations. These defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in federal court. I want to thank the Austin Tactical Diversion Squad, whose work resulted in today's announcement, a task force which includes the DEA, IRS Criminal Investigations, FBI, the Austin Police Department, the Lakeway Police Department, the Cedar Park Police Department, the Texas National Guard, and the Travis County Sheriff's Office. I want to thank them for their tireless efforts to protect our community and bring these defendants to justice. I also want to express my appreciation to the individuals standing behind me today, who are leaders in the law enforcement community and represent some of these agencies. Finally, I want to thank law enforcement in general. These days our police are too often vilified, defunded, and attacked. This case shows that without robust and effective law enforcement, our society is simply less safe. At this time, I'm going to turn the podium over to SAC Whipple from the DEA to say a few words.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Sofer. My name is Steve Whipple. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for DEA here at the Houston Division, which covers the Austin region. Yesterday's takedown is the product of a lot of hard work by the agencies that you see standing up here. This investigation was started by the Austin Police Department by a detective that brought this case to our Tactical Diversion Squad and was the lead investigator for this very complex long-term investigation. So my hat's off to the Austin Police Department for bringing this case and for helping us pursue it to its fullest completion. Mr. Sofer talked about a lot of the issues that we saw in this case. It's a multi-state investigation. It's complex. These kids, they're all well educated. We saw 8 current or former UT students that were members of this organization. We saw mathematics majors, chemistry majors, a psychology major, business majors, and they decided to turn their talents into this illicit operation. They were pretty sophisticated about how they did it. They used social media. GroupMe is a real common platform that they used to arrange the sales of the narcotics. Sales happen both on campus as well as off campus. They used Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, other apps as well as cash for handling their cash. We have a fairly complicated money laundering scheme. And so as you can see, there's a multitude of crimes that happened along the way in this investigation, and it's only because of our task force environment, having the FBI, having IRS, having Austin PD, Lakeway PD, having these components in our task force and the expertise and the resources that each of these departments bring enable us to do these kind of cases. The point that we really would like people to take away from this investigation is when you send your kids to college and they think they're buying a prescription pill, Adderall, to get them through a finals exam, high chances are that it's not Adderall, it's methamphetamine. They're buying Xanax, they think. It's manufactured to look like Xanax, but it's going to be fentanyl. And parents are seeing their kids come home from college messed up, and they don't understand why. The kid said, "Mom, I took an Adderall." Turns out it was methamphetamine. It's highly addictive. Fentanyl, highly deadly. As Mr. Sofer mentioned, we had 2 defendants die of overdose in the middle of this investigation who would be in jail today had they not overdosed and died. So our message is, if you buy it on the street, it's not going to be pharmaceutical. This organization did sell some diverted pharmaceutical narcotics, but they couldn't get enough, and so they went to the manufacturing route, like Professor Rabin and what she was providing. That was all methamphetamine. It was pilled out and with a clandestine pill press and put out on the street as Adderall. Interesting other part that we saw is a large amount of LSD and psilocybin. We raided and are seizing a psilocybin grow and processing facility outside of Dripping Springs. It was quite a complex operation. We took about 33 kilos worth of psilocybin yesterday, and that was just a small piece. They had a ventilation problem, and they lost about 2/3 or 3/4 of their crop, what we understand, and so they had to destroy a bunch right before we showed up. So this is making it to our college campuses. It's not just here at UT or at UTSA. This is a problem that we see in every college campus across the nation, and we're just asking that parents and students pay attention to what you do. Don't buy this stuff on the street, because you're not buying what you think you are. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Richard Goss, who's the Special Agent in charge for the Internal Revenue Service.
All right, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody here also, and I thank all the work that law enforcement partners have done in this. And so, good morning, everybody. My name is Rick Goss. I'm the Special Agent in charge for IRS Criminal Investigations Houston Division, which we cover Austin and all of Western Texas. I'd like to start by saying that yesterday's arrests marked a serious victory in the Austin area and for the people that live there. I just wanted to take a second to explain IRS's mission, IRS criminal investigations mission in the narcotics investigation arena. So the role of IRS criminal investigation is simply to follow the money wherever it goes and to identify the ringleaders and facilitators of those organizations and to disrupt the illicit financial gains that are the lifeblood of those organizations. And our agents remain committed to our mission of dismantling narcotics trafficking organizations and putting those people that run those organizations in jail where they belong. And with that, I just want to turn it over to Chief Radford for a few more comments. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Todd Radford, Chief of Police of the City of Lakeway. I'm currently the president of the Central Texas Chiefs Association as well. I was honored to get the phone call to be able to come here today and represent local law enforcement, both the Austin Police Department, Cedar Park, Travis County Sheriff's Office, and obviously ourselves, as we all have officers that are engaged in this and other types of investigations like this. But to be part of this task force, to stand with our federal partners and our state partners, county and local partners, in a time when we are challenged in law enforcement. If reform is necessary, I think this is a great example of what that looks like for us. We come together with one vision, one mission, and that's to take the bad guys off the street and to make our communities safer. And I think this case shows exactly what that looks like. So I'm very proud and honored to represent not only the City of Lakeway, but local law enforcement as we stand along our federal partners to say to you today that this case is just one of a small number of cases that makes our communities safer. Thank you, and that you be blessed in your holiday season. I'll now turn it back over to the City U.S. Attorney.
So we have time for some questions. Anybody have a question? So we're not going to get into the details of all of that now. Some of this is still under investigation. I'll just tell you that two of the people who likely would have been defendants in this case didn't make it that far because they overdosed on these kind of drugs.
Greg, takedown yesterday, were they on campus or were they all in West Campus area?
So I'm going to turn that over to Mark Marshall, who's Assistant United States Attorney who's prosecuting the case.
We ran warrants in West Campus in two separate locations, off campus, but in the 24th Street, 45th Street area here in Austin. Another one down south a little bit. The psilocybin grow was out off of Circle Drive and Thomas Springs Road in the Oak Hill area. We ran another warrant in Portland, Oregon, where we got a full marijuana grow connected to this particular organization. That's where the warrants were primarily run.
Anything on campus itself?
No, we did not run anything on campus. Most of the activity was the West Campus area. Some of the sales occurred on campus, but none of the particular warrants were run on campus.
Do you have any of the sales and all that under surveillance and do they videotape?
I can't get into the specifics of the investigation at this point. A lot of that is still sealed.
Surprised by the number of locations that you had to raid in which you found? Were you surprised, even knowing what you were expecting, but did it surprise you seeing the quantity?
Well, the quantity up front, we had a pretty good idea. The first investigation and first enforcement action we took in 2019 involved 14 kilos of alprazolam tablets. That's 22 pounds. That's a lot. So we had a good idea that we were engaged in that kind of organization. The psilocybin grow surprised me. It's the biggest grow I've seen. All the psilocybin came from these guys and the grow. As the U.S. Attorney indicated, Rose Rabin was arrested in San Antonio. She was one of the suppliers producing Adderall tablets. That's all public record. I think they ran stories on that down in San Antonio. That involved about 21 kilos of meth and tablets. The rest of it is still part of an ongoing investigation, and I cannot comment on that.
What was the first step that got y'all going?
Austin Police Department got information on one of the targets, and that's how it started back in 2019. I can't comment on that specific activity. There was an enforcement action that involved a search warrant, and that's where we got the initial 14 kilos of Adderall. Well, 2 guys died. I'm not sure of their connection with UT right now, and I couldn't comment on it anyway. Some of the people we're talking about may be witnesses, and I can't identify them at this point. No. Within the last 6 months. Yes, they were all engaged in activity in those particular areas, and we were doing activities out there. But I can't comment on those specific activities. A lot of it is still sealed. I don't have the specific numbers, but if you go back to March of 2020, I think the Williamson County Medical Examiner, among others, had a press conference and talked about their observation of increased overdoses in and around the Austin area, including Williamson and Travis counties. Some were, some weren't.
You're absolutely correct. And that's the whole marketing ploy with these, what we call counterfeit pharmaceuticals. People think they're taking medicine, something that a doctor has prescribed, that a pharmaceutical manufacturer has made and a pharmacist has dispensed. None of this is that. This has been made in somebody's garage with a clandestine pill press with inexact measurements. That's why you'll see somebody take what they think is a Xanax and overdose and die, because it's fentanyl, or maybe even worse, carfentanil. But it's being marketed to these people, to kids, to anybody who's going to buy it on the street as a pharmaceutical. Our Office of Diversion expends a great deal of resources to try to control the diversion of legitimate pharmaceuticals. It's a closed system. We're supposed to be able to track a pill from when it's manufactured to when it's been dispensed to a patient. So we expend a lot of effort in preventing that diversion outside of that closed circle. And as a result, we see this kind of happen, where it's clandestinely manufactured and marketed as legitimate pharmaceuticals. Actually, yes to both. It leaves a trail, and it does complicate things. I mean, any steps that you take to thwart being found out to do something complicates our job. It makes us get smarter about the applications and how to work them. It is a tool of efficiency for like this organization, and using GroupMe and Zelle and these other apps. It's a lot safer to get, Zelle me your money versus hand me, $200 and I got it in my pocket and I get hit on the head and be robbed. So there's efficiencies for them, efficiencies for us, as well as complications for us. I haven't taken a look at those, which ones they are.
Yeah, those are little bites candies.
Oh, those are the the THC edibles? THC edibles, yeah. There's almost like a drugstore, all kinds of different. I mean, we saw actual cocaine, we saw actual meth. The vast majority of what's being sold, though, or the pharmaceuticals, and they had recently moved into the LSD and the psilocybin because of some overdose deaths and things like that. I use that term. It's like a storefront. It's like a drugstore. They had all kinds of stuff for sale. Well, there were multiple locations. Everything from like the apartments that where they lived, they sold out of, they stashed as well. The operation down in the psilocybin grow and manufacturing, there was a lot of science in that, and there was a lot of effort and thought and money invested into that process. And because you have to really control the environment, because if you get outside spores or whatever, it can kill the grow. I mean, so it was pretty complicated. Now, a lot of them, what they lived in, is pretty nasty, But that particular manufacturing facility for the mushrooms, they had to control the environment, temperature,
I think we can take one more
everything.
question.
So, yes, there's more to do here. There's more to do in San Antonio, Houston, all of our college campuses, yes. And that's why we're hoping this message resonates at home with parents, with students, and we're going to continue these investigations.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.